Hello, fourth grade math stars. Today we will be focusing on this lesson 1 problem set. And as you can see, it's just some more fractions. So it's continuing to build upon what we've been doing this past week. So let's do some sample problems and then you all should be all good to go. Okay, so for our first set of problems, we have to draw a number bond and also write a number sentence that goes with or that corresponds with this tape diagram that they provided for you. As you can see, here are the tape diagrams, here are the number bonds, and here is the number sentence. So for the problem that they already did for you, they are telling us that these 3 blocks represent just one figure. This represents just one figure. And that is indicated by these shape things. If you have this line and then it points to a number, that indicates that it goes with each other. Okay? So the first thing they did was find unit fractions. And if you remember, we find unit fractions by first counting the amount of blocks, squares in each figure. Okay, let's count. 1, 2, 3. So we know that our denominator, our number on the bottom, is going to be 3. And for unit fractions, we also know that each of these blocks, each of these figures just represents just one part of the whole, just one part. Because what are fractions again? Yeah, they're just parts of the whole. So we have 1 over 3, or 1/3, plus 1 over 3, or 1/3, plus 1 over 3, or 1/3. And that is equal to 1, because they told us that just this figure is equal to 1. And they also represented this using a number bond. And if we remember, we know that number bonds are essentially just figures that help us when we're adding with sums and all of that good stuff. So in a number bond, we put our sum or our answer in addition on top. And then we also include every number that leads us to that sum. And in that case, that was 1/3 plus 1/3 plus 1/3. Okay, let's move on to the next problem. As we can see, once again, they are telling us that these 5 blocks, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These 5 blocks all come together just to make one figure. Okay, so first, let's go ahead and write the unit fractions underneath each of these blocks so we know. So once again, denominator, our number on the bottom, is our total, and that would be 5, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then each of these blocks represents just one part of that whole. So we have 1 over 5, 1 over 5, or 1/5, 1 over 5, or 1/5, 1 over 5, and 1 over 5. Okay. But this problem is different from our last problem. Why? Because not all of the blocks are shaded. But for these purposes, we just care about the shaded block. Okay? So I'm going to cross off this block just so I don't get confused right now. But be sure, math stars, that you include this block when you're doing your unit fractions. Okay, but after you figure out your unit fraction, you could ignore it, okay, because it's not shaded in. Okay, so first, I'm going to write my number sentence. So my number sentence, let's start off with the sum, or answer and addition. So in this case, it's not going to be 1. Why isn't it going to be 1? Because we're not including this unshaded figure. So let's count to figure out our sum. 1, 2, 3, 4. Our shaded figures represent 4/5 of the entire figure. How did I get that? I simply just added all of these fractions together. My denominator stays the same, and I add every block. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4/5 or 4/5 is equal to 1/5, which I got over here, plus, we could say plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5. That would be right. But this particular problem wants us to put these 3 blocks together. And that's indicated by this fancy line-esque figure right here. They want us to put these 3 blocks together. So let's do that. So instead of saying 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5 plus 1/5, we're just going to go ahead and say 1/5 plus 3/5. How did I get 3/5? Well, I just added these fractions together. 1, 2, 3. So 4/5 is equal to 1/5 plus 3/5 would be my number sentence. And then let's put this also in a number bond. So same thing, I'm just going to copy 4/5 or 4/5 is on top. Then I will have 1/5 or 1/5 over here. And then 3/5 or 3/5 over here. Okay, got that? Awesome. So now your task is to do C, D, and E on your own. I'm gonna walk you through F right now because it's a little funkier. Okay. F is a little different. Why is F a little different? Because F is telling us that just these 4 blocks represent 1. And then we kind of have a remainder block over here off to the side. But let's first just find that unit fraction again. We know that these 4 blocks represent 1. So I'm going to go ahead and write those unit fractions. Our denominator would be 4, because that's our total, 1, 2, 3, 4. And our numerator, or number on top, would be 1. So 1/4, or 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, and then 1/4, or 1/4. And we can just assume that this remainder block is also 1/4. Why can we do that? Because this block is essentially the same sizes as these other blocks, so we'll just assume it's also 1/4. Okay? And then let me go ahead and write my number sentence. But, so be sure, math fans, so our number sentences need to include all of the blocks that are shaded. Okay? So, all of the blocks are shaded are 5, right? 5/4. Because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Our numerator changes. We add our numerators together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then our denominator stays the same. So we have 5/4, or 5/4, is equal to, once again, let's pay attention to these line-esque figures telling us what blocks need to go together. So these 3 blocks need to go together. So 1, 2, 3. 3/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4. And we could go ahead and put that in a number bond as well. So here is my number sentence. And let's just transfer this into number bond. So 5/4, 5/4 on top. 3/4 and then we have 1/4, and then we have 1/4. Okay, so go ahead now. Same thing, do G and H on your own, and then I will walk you through this second part right now. And this is essentially just the same thing we've been doing, but it's just backwards. So instead of giving you the tape diagrams, they're giving you the number sentences, and we're just working backwards from there. So let's see. Let's do number 2B, this problem together right now. So as you can see, our number sentence is 4/5 is equal to 1/5 plus 2/5 plus 1/5. Okay, so right off the bat, we know that we are gonna put, here, let me use the marker, that's easier to say. Right off the bat, we know that we are gonna put, we need 5 blocks, right? Because that's our total, that's our denominator. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So each of these blocks represents what? So each of these blocks represents 1/5, right? Each of these blocks represents 1/5. But right off the bat, we know that we're not going to include all of these blocks in shading. Why is that? Because our sum in this number sentence is just 4 or 5 or 4/5. So we're only going to color in 4 of these blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then let's draw those fancy lines to show what we're going to symbolize. Okay. So we have 1/5. So this one is going to stand alone. And then we have 2/5 or 2/5. So now we know that these two are going to be bunched together. And then we have one more 1/5. And this is going to be bunched together. Okay. And then we can just go off and say that this figure all together is equal to 1. Okay. Why is that? Because this is less than 1. And by including this remainder block, we would get a sum of 5/5. And we know that if the numerator is the same as the denominator, we know that that answer would be 1 automatically. Okay, so go ahead and try A, C, D on your own. Okay, this fraction stuff is not easy stuff. Okay, so just please know that, but awesome job for continuing to work hard, continuing to watch videos, ask questions. That's super awesome.